April 22, 2025. Pahalgam, a peaceful town in the heart of Kashmir. Tourists from across India had come to ride horses, breathe mountain air, and enjoy the quiet beauty of the valley. But by evening, the grass was soaked in blood.
28 people are reported to have been killed after gunmen opened fire on tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir.
A group of armed men, disguised as locals, stopped travelers on horseback and asked one terrifying question: are you Hindu or Muslim? If the answer didn't match their expectations, they opened fire. In just minutes, 26 innocent tourists were gunned down in cold blood. One woman, sobbing over her husband's body, begged the attackers to kill her too. But they told her, "Go tell your prime minister what happened today. This wasn't just a terror attack in Kashmir. It was a warning." And now India is on high alert. Pakistan is on edge. And the world is asking, is this the beginning of something bigger? Let's break it down. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. Snow-draped peaks, still blue lakes, a quiet valley that feels untouched by time. But in Kashmir, beauty is a mask, and behind it, centuries of pain. To understand why 26 tourists were gunned down, you have to understand where it happened. Kashmir isn't just a piece of land. It's the scar that never healed after India and Pakistan were split in 1947. Back then, over 15 million people were displaced overnight, families torn apart, trains filled with refugees arrived, in coffins. It became one of the bloodiest migrations in human history. That trauma didn't end, it evolved. And Kashmir, caught between two nations, became the battleground. India says it's theirs. Pakistan says it was stolen. And for decades, every war, every border skirmish, every shadow operation, it all leads back here. Now, in 2025, the pain has returned. Louder, bloodier, and impossible to ignore. It started like any other morning in Pahalgam. Tourists, families, couples, solo travelers were mounting horses, eager to explore the mountain trails. Among them was a woman from Madhya Pradesh and her husband. Their guide seemed friendly at first, until he started asking strange questions. "Where are you from? Have you read the Quran?" She smiled nervously, trying not to overthink it. But then she heard him whisper something on the phone. "Go with Plan B. Guns are in place." Her heart dropped. She did something most wouldn't even think of. She discreetly messaged India's intelligence hotline. But before help could arrive, it was too late. Around 6 armed men emerged from the trees. No uniforms, no warning, just local clothes and automatic rifles. They began pulling people off horses and asking one terrifying question: are you Hindu or Muslim? If you answered wrong, or couldn't answer fast enough, they opened fire. Children screamed. Elderly tourists tried to run. But there was nowhere to hide. In less than 10 minutes, 26 people lay dead. And that same woman, the one who sent the tip, watched her husband die in front of her. Through her tears, she shouted, "Kill me too." But the gunman just laughed. "No," he said. "You go tell your prime minister what happened today." This wasn't just brutality. This was a message. India has a little-known emergency intel tip line, mostly used by locals, rarely by tourists. That woman used it, and it worked. The message was received, but just minutes too late. By the time the agency traced the phone and scrambled local units, the massacre was already underway. It was one of the worst civilian attacks in Kashmir in years, and it wasn't random. It was methodical, coordinated, targeted. Within hours, the country erupted. News anchors were screaming. Kashmir massacre was trending. Thousands took to the streets, holding photos of victims, demanding action. The prime minister held an emergency meeting that same night. But there was no airstrike, no missile launch. Instead, India did something quieter, but possibly far more dangerous. They turned to a weapon Pakistan never expected. No jets flew, no bombs dropped. Instead, India opened an old file and started playing by a different rulebook. It's called the Indus Waters Treaty, signed back in the 1960s. Under it, Pakistan gets full access to 3 major rivers, the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab. India controls the others. It was designed to prevent war over something both nations desperately need. But after the Pahalgam massacre, India stopped playing nice. Without breaking the treaty, India quietly began diverting excess water away from rivers flowing into Pakistan. Legally allowed, but strategically devastating. In Pakistan, 70% of the water supply relies on these rivers. And almost overnight, reservoirs began running low. Farmers couldn't irrigate crops. Prices for flour and fuel skyrocketed, and panic spread. Pakistan's government called it a violation. India called it within treaty terms. But make no mistake, this was a warning. A way to make Pakistan feel the cost without firing a single shot. While Pakistan scrambled to manage its water crisis, something else started happening. Quieter, but just as ominous. Indian fighter jets began flying routine patrols near the northern border. Not for training, not for show. This was calculated, controlled, constant. Satellite images soon revealed tank movements near forward bases. Special forces were seen running joint drills, closer to the line of control than they'd been in years. The message was simple: we're ready. Meanwhile, over in Pakistan, things were crumbling. The economy was already on life support. Now, inflation spiked, fuel ran dry, and public trust plummeted. Civilians were lining up for groceries, and at the same time, generals were holding late-night emergency meetings. Sniper fire at the border, drones shot down, unmanned surveillance aircraft hovering just above no man's land. This wasn't war, but it sure as hell wasn't peace either. And everyone watching, from Washington to Beijing, started asking the same thing. How close are we to the edge? One woman rode into Kashmir expecting peace. Instead, she left with her husband's blood on her clothes and a message for a nation. Since that moment, India has responded, not with rage, but with strategy. Water withheld, borders armed, eyes fixed on the horizon. And across Pakistan, anxiety is growing. Not just because of what happened, but because of what might happen next. Because here's the truth. It only takes one more spark, one more bullet, and this Cold War could turn red hot, fast. So, what happens now? That depends on how far both sides are willing to go. And whether this silent war can stay silent. If this shook you even a little, share this video. Because the more people understand what's really happening in Kashmir, the harder it becomes to ignore. And if you want to stay updated on how this story unfolds, subscribe. We break down the news that matters, the moments that change history, and the stories others overlook. Because sometimes, understanding the truth is the only way to stop what comes next.